Okay, we are back. I thought maybe we should probably do what the crafting portion of this would look like. So, we have our inventory, right? We also need... Actually, I can probably just duplicate this. Call this one crafting. And change the title to crafting. And then I could probably add... we could probably add it in with the hotbar. No. What's that? Let's do a new one. Let's do a empty... and call this... I don't know, we'll call it tabs for now. And it can have a grid layout group. And it needs, at the moment, 2 buttons. Button. And let's go to 2D so we know where to set this thing. So let's set our tabs, say up somewhere around here. Let's go 75 and 50 and fix row count to 1. Give that a 10. That's probably fine. We'll just move it down from there. Let's go up here. Now let's call this one inventory. And this one let's call crafting. There we go. Turn off that visualization. And I'm going to enter the controls. So here we have this guy. I'm going to duplicate those two, copy and paste, and we now want a variable called crafting. So we want, when everything's closed, we also want our crafting to be deactivated. Copy. And I want crafting to be deactivated here as well. But what if we hit, say, C for crafting? Let's get a new event, open crafting. I'm just going to copy this guy. And then this guy, we want inventory deactivated. We don't need to populate yet. This is going to be a C, not an I. And we want to activate the crafting. Then on top of that, just because we like options, UI button array, we have 2 buttons, and we have one that's going to be open and one that's going to be open crafting. So the one that's going to be open, if I was smart I would have labeled these things, so the inventory and the crafting. Okay, so now if I push I get that. If I push C, I get that. If I push there, I get that. If I push, oh, yeah, we never made the thing to go backwards. Okay, so we also want this, copy, let's spread those out, paste. So we want to close if we get that button again. We can do open crafting. We can keep that one. We can just go down here. And we can go down here and do the same thing. And this one will now be close, and open is the open the inventory will go up here. Now since we're doing that, we might as well get the crafting one, copy and paste, and he needs to open up crafting, and we'll do the same thing down here with the I button. So we have this little three-way controlling thing. So if I hit inventory and hit it again, if I hit inventory then hit crafting, or go back to inventory, or I can hit I, or I can hit C, or I can hit C, then I, then back to C, and hit C again. There we go. So we have this little system. Two-way to control it. I'm actually going to bring those down a little farther. And I'm going to tell these things to best fit. So we have some tabs. So what is crafting? For now, I'm just going to deactivate this guy. We don't need him open. So the same idea is we want to populate this thing with like recipes, right? So in our recipes, again, we have this thing called slots, only slots. Let's change this to a layout, a vertical layout group. And if we put, let's say a button, and this button will have text saying create, and this button will also have a panel, and the panel will slide over here. And we'll give that panel a bit of a color, maybe a lighter color, I suppose. Obviously you can make it anything you want. We'll give that a text, and I'm going to best fit that, and I'm going to adjust its size so it's not quite corner to corner. Right, so this could be, for example, wood floor. So now we have this kind of crafting recipe. So these things probably use tags because we have a title. Let's add a tag, crafting title. There we go. Change this thing to recipe, and I'm going to prefab that and destroy it. So we're going to make a new FSM. Called crafting. So similar to this thing, right? We want to be able to populate a crafting system. So to show you kind of how this part's going to work, if we create an object and we have a variable, this is our new holder for the crafting side of things. And we also need a recipe. So we're going to create a recipe at holder, store as current recipe. We then, after we create things, see if I can use a button array with this. If we have one for now, and he is current recipe, and if we click, we have clicked our new recipe, or we can do by index. So if I now hit play, right, we open that up, we see this, and if I click that, oh, we never gave him a pathway out. Oh, that's silly of me. Huh? All right. So we hit this, and there we go. He's transferred over with a dynamic button. So we need, where's our little player? I'm going to rename this guy to player so I can find him a little easier. So he needs a recipe, some sort of crafting list, so that we know what to populate with. Or I guess he doesn't need to have it. You could have everything right up on here. What would be the easiest thing to do? Okay, so let's just put it here for now. We might have to move it later on, but we'll put it here for now. So a recipe needs a few different things. We need a array list. Actually, I don't know if that's going to be a good idea. Let's make these things objects. Okay, wood floor recipe. I'm going to add an FSM to him. So he has two arrays. He has a what would be an integer, so he needs a quantity, and he has an array for type, and this one's going to be a string, and then he is going to have a result. So if I stick all these down here, so we can see this a little better. So ideally, what we want is we have a type. So maybe a wood floor needs wood. Now we use two arrays, same idea as the player, right? We're using these three arrays in a unison fashion. So same idea. If we want wood, this type, this other array is the quantity of wood. So maybe we need 10. And then in the end, we're going to have our result. We haven't built that part yet, but it's there. The other thing this thing could have is a icon, right? Because you don't necessarily want the icon to be just wood if it's a floor, right? So let's change this to Unity Engine UI and Sprite, or maybe just Unity engine sprite. There we go. So now he has different things, and I don't know, use that one for now. So now we have a recipe. Change this, go like that, and I'll make a new folder called recipes, and I'm just going to drag him in and prefab him and delete him. That's as far as he ever needs to go. He doesn't actually need to be anywhere. He's almost like a scriptable object. So if we have an array here called recipes, and this is type game object. Right now it's only a length of 1. We have this guy. He's a recipe. So let's do, okay, let's get rid of him and do a populate and destroy, just like the other one. So we have a populate and a destroy, and while we're here under the controls, if we go, like I said, here we have this guy. I'm going to copy him, go down to the crafting portion, paste before, and we don't want populate, we want crafting and then populate. We might have to add a destroy in between those states, but for now we're fine. So when this thing populates, we need to, what do we need to do? We need to array get next of our recipes. We have a loop, and we have a done, and we have our result, get rid of that guy because he's annoying me, how he's red. So when we create a recipe, he needs to loop, and he needs to, on that loop, we need to create, actually I guess I can just use this one, it's already here. We need to create a recipe at the holder, named current recipe. Ooh, see, I almost did that again. Current recipe lowercase, current recipe high. So I'm going to change this guy, this little lowercase one, to create, just so I don't get mixed up down the road here. So we're creating this new recipe. Now this recipe, get child, and it is of, well, I guess we can do this for now with this one. Oh, wait, no we can't. Current child of the current recipe. We called that title, and he's got the tag crafting title, and this is current recipe title. And I'm going to go into here and make sure he is okay, that's the recipe. Oh, I'm already screwing this thing up. Okay, so have created a recipe. Yeah. So yeah, that's the wrong thing I'm even looking at. This guy. So this guy here, he is title. He's got the crafting title tag. Save and out. Okay. So we get his title. Now he needs a name, and well, we didn't put an icon on the actual recipe, so I guess we won't deal with that for now. So now we have this created recipe, and we have this. So he needs a name. Did we give this guy a name? No, we didn't. Okay. So in the recipe, he needs a name. Wood floor. And the value is wood floor. But then we'll just call this one name. His name is wood floor, not wood floor is wood floor. It's weird. Okay. So now, there we go. So this title needs to be that name, and that name is this guy's name. So get FSM string on the, oh no, this one here I can actually use this for, on the recipe. Oh, why is the name not showing up? I'm just going to type it in then. Recipe name. That's the current recipe to create. I'm going to double check that because that should pop up. That could be because maybe we didn't put it in there. Perhaps. Right. I'm kind of curious now if that is the case. No, that's not the case. So current recipe to create. Current recipe to create. Yeah. Now that whole thing is kind of weird. Okay, so we are coming over here. We get the recipe from our list. We create a recipe, more or less blueprint. We stuff it into our crafting system. We get all this stuff, and then we're just going to finish and come back like that. And I guess the other thing we need is an array for current recipes created, and it's a game object, and let's array add current recipes created, current recipe. That's the one we want to do. Yeah. So we array add him. And then down here, we need a UI button array. And we need a way to populate him, right? So let's go over here. So when we're done, we've created all of these things. We've got this new array called the recipes created. I think what we should do is array get next. The recipe's created. This also has a loop and a done, and it has a what does this guy need? He needs the game object. Current recipe, so he needs add. There's no simple way of doing this other than UI button click event. Does he give us a... No, he doesn't. So there's two ways of doing this. I think doing it, say, this way. So let's do button 1, and he sends an event to create, and button 2, and he also sends create, and button 3, he also sends create, button 4. I guess I really don't need to make that many. You'll get the idea. So button 5, he sends create. They all send this create, and they create an index. Actually, you know what? We could probably just add this during this first array. That might even make it quicker. This guy here, if we just store this index, current index, then we could set game object. No, that's not going to work for us at all. We have to set variable. Okay. Let's do this a completely different way. Let's just go down here for now. We'll have to put the logic on the button itself. It'll make it more dynamic, so you're not making 400 variables. In fact, I'm going to delete those. There you go. So anyway, we've created this. We've added them to an array. We populate, and so far that's it. On this guy, we are going to also get this, but we want the created loop and done. Current recipe to create, sure, we can reuse that variable. So when we're done, and then on the loop, destroy object the recipe to create, because that's what we said, and go back here. So just to show you, if I go into the base recipe here and change this from wood floor to recipe, doesn't really matter, just so we can see. Now I hit play. Oh, we never told it to populate. So let's go. If we go into here, so this guy sends populate. Oh, and this guy says populate. And you send destroy? Yeah, so we also need to send a destroy 4 to the crafting destroy. And this is where I am going to just add a little sub state kind of here. As we come down here to go down to here, right, because we have this populated, but we also need now to destroy this one as we come down here, I think. So we are going to copy and paste. And then I'm going to do the same thing, but going upwards. And this one's obviously not under that one, he's under the crafting. Okay, so we hit I, we get that, we hit crafting, and we get this. So we need to adjust that size. So we get wood floor recipe, that's our only recipe. And he comes over and he gets his stuff. He finds that title, recipe name, and we never bother to set the actual name. So let's do that. UI set text. And let's just move him up here. So on the title, current recipe title, can now be recipe name. There we go. So we hit that, we have wood floor, inventory, and wood floor, and we can hit buttons. Buttons don't do anything yet, but we can hit buttons. So here, under slots, I want width, not height. And let's just see how that looks. Okay, we have height. So we want he's now going the whole thing. Alright, so don't control width. Normally you would, but I kind of set that up kind of weird, I guess. So let's shrink these down a bit. So roughly somewhere around there. Copy that and go into the recipe and paste that. Alright, I'm going to go over to this little panel and slide him over. Go to this text and adjust him. Okay. See, that looks a little better. It's still weird. Okay, so he uses an image. Unless we, for example, get rid of that. Create an empty. And give this a height of 0. Give him the vertical layout group. Control the width, not the height. And let's make the width, say, 300. Yeah. Move him up to about there. Okay, let's change the holder to this new guy. Now, might have to adjust our button. And it does both of them. Why is it doing both? Doesn't make any sense. that's just annoying me now. I'm not going to, well, no, you should expand. So, because if we shrink this guy, even if I took this guy and shrunk him right down, it's not going to matter. Right? Because technically if you did, I didn't save it. Because he'll force himself to open, right? But I don't want him to open up the second guy. So, oh, you know what? If he's doing that, we should just be smarter than the system. Let's go over halfway. Oh, look at that. It's getting better. I'm going to go 100. Wood floor. That's better. Let's go 120. Might have to adjust the text portion of it. $110. And I'm going to bring this guy back this way. Actually, you know what? I'm going to tell him to expand into it. Oh, that expand into it sucked. Thanks. That's roughly where we want it. Like that. So let's mark him like that. Copy that. Come out of there. Go into the recipe. Go into title. Paste it. Okay. Now, there. So we can create wood floor. So how do we get that guy more or less to talk to the system when we want to actually create something, right? Because if he creates something, like we don't have a button array, right? So this guy needs to, more or less, frick did my button go? Recipe. He needs a way now that when he is clicked on, the he says, hey, frickin' make me. So that's what we need to do. He needs an event called, we'll say, clicked. And that will come from him. I'm just going to drag him in there. And send event. Clicked. So what does this guy do when he is clicked? Well, in the start, he needs to get root, and he needs to get owner. So the owner is self, and the root is, well, we'll call him root. So when he's clicked on, he needs to set event. Or, no, let's do it this way. Let's set FSM game object of the owner, or of the root. We need something to set. We don't have anything to set, so let's go up to, we'll use our crafting, and we'll have game object current button clicked. Current button clicked. I'm going to copy that because it's a big word. Big 3 words. Larger sentence. I don't know what you call that. So we are going to do that variable in crafting, and the value is our self. There we go. So now, let's see if that worked. I open up crafting, we see this, I go to this, where is our create, it's currently empty, and I click, we now have this guy, right? We can see he has clicked, that button there has clicked. So that's how we're going to tap into this system for crafting. Because now that he is crafted, or he has been clicked on, we can do this same thing. Where is it? Oh, right here. Where we get the child, and we get the string. No, we don't get the string, we just get the child. Right? So copy and paste. Oh, let's not go over there. Let's go. Let's paste him here. And this is going to be of the button clicked. So this guy is now, we can make a new variable. Title of button clicked. And if we get that, we can now use that because it will say wood floor. Correct? So we then where's our recipe? So okay. So array contains. So if our recipes contain the value, oh, I was hoping it'd go for the name. Alright, we might have to do that the long way. How much time we got? Oh god, I should almost end this here. So, game object is null, or we'll say changed. Current button clicked is changed, so we have clicked on a button. Okay, so I think we should probably end it there. So we have now the majority of the logic behind our crafting, for the most part. We can pick our stuff up, we can craft. Obviously we need to get some more data so we can subtract some resources on that craft. That's kind of what I just started doing, but we'll leave that for the next video. But we have our two windows, and once we have an ability that we've crafted something, which will be that wood floor, we need to place it using probably a socket system of some type, so it snaps together with other things and all sorts of fun little gizmos. So we'll see you in the next video.